Welcome to Life's Little Chapter, where we explore the small everyday choices that leads to long-lasting health and healing. I'm Victoria, and today we're beginning a brand new series that I believe will change your health story forever. We're diving into a topic called insulin resistance, a hidden yet powerful condition that affects millions, often without them knowing it. It's one of the key reasons behind weight struggles, obesity, overweight, chronic fatigue, belly fat, and even type 2 diabetes. And here's the good news: insulin resistance is not your destiny, a signal. And in this series, we'll unpack what it means, how it's developed, how it links to so many health diseases, and most importantly, what you can do about it. Stay tuned and listen attentively. Thank you for watching. If you're a new subscriber, you are highly welcome to Life's Little Chapter. And if you're a returning subscriber, you know so well that I love you so much. Stay tuned. Insulin resistance is more than just a term thrown around in health cycles. It's a major driver behind weight gain, pre-diabetes, type 2 diabetes, and a host of other chronic conditions like heart diseases, polycystic PCOS, fatty liver diseases, and so on. But what is insulin resistance exactly? Let's break it down simply, yet medically sound. Insulin is a hormone produced by the pancreas. Its primary job is to help the blood glucose, that is the sugar in your blood, move from your bloodstream into your cells, where it is used for energy. But when your body becomes resistant to insulin due to insulin resistance, it means that the cells, they stop responding effectively to this glucose. It means that the cells are not able, to take up this glucose from your blood. It means the cells, they stop responding efficiently. This results to your pancreas, releasing even more insulin to compensate for that lack of, glucose in the cells, which is a state called hyperinsulinemia. This chronic elevation of insulin doesn't just lead to high blood glucose or high blood sugar. It contributes to the storage of fats in your body, hormonal imbalances. It leads to inflammation and eventually, burnout, leading to burnout of the beta cells of the pancreas, leading to type 2 diabetes. How does this insulin resistance lead to weight gain? Insulin is a fat storage hormone, which when the levels of insulin are consistently high, it signals your body to store fat, especially around the belly region. How does insulin remain? What makes insulin consistently high? Now, another way insulin resistance leads to weight gain around the belly section is by inhibiting fat breakdown, meaning you hold onto fat. That fat is not being broken down. It also increases hunger and cravings, particularly for carbs, creating a vicious cycle. Research from the Journal of Clinical Investigation in 2007 showed that insulin resistance alters mitochondrial function and decreases the body's ability to burn fat effectively. And that is why many people with insulin resistance find it hard to lose weight, even with calorie restriction. Now, in my next video, I'm going to explain in details how, insulin resistance, the mechanism by which insulin resistance leads to, weight gain and accumulation of fat around the belly region. Now, let's talk about the signs of insulin resistance. How do you know that you have insulin resistance? Number one, unexplained weight gain, especially around the waist region. When you keep, gaining weight around the waist region, which has no, logical explanation, it could be insulin resistance. When you feel tired or fatigue after meals, after eating, sometimes when we finish eating, instead of us to feel energized and active, we just feel tired and just want to go to bed or just want to rest. That is another sign of insulin resistance. Now, the third sign of insulin resistance is brain fog. You feel your brain is not as active. You tend to forget things. That is a sign of insulin resistance. Another one is craving for sugar or carbs. Some of us have made the conscious decisions not to take sugar anymore or to reduce the amount of sugar we put in our food. But you realize that you crave for this sugar. If you crave for carbs, you crave for processed food, you crave for junk foods. This is a sign of insulin resistance. Another sign is skin tags or dark patches around the neck, high triglyceride or low cholesterol, that is low amount of the good cholesterol, which is the HDL cholesterol, elevated fasting insulin or blood sugar. When you go to test your blood sugar level, when you did a fasting blood sugar in the morning, after fasting for about 8 to 10 hours, if you have insulin resistance, your blood sugar level is going to be elevated. Other conditions linked to insulin resistance include PCOS. Most of us know PCOS is polycystic ovarian syndrome. Nearly 70% of women with PCOS have insulin resistance. I'm not saying every woman with PCOS has insulin resistance, but about 70% has, according to research, has insulin resistance. It worsens hormonal imbalance. It leads to weight gain. It leads to infertility. Another condition linked to insulin resistance is non-alcoholic fatty disease. Excess insulin signals the liver to convert glucose to fat, leading to fatty deposits in the liver cells, and this leads to fatty liver disease that is of the non-alcoholic origin. Condition that is linked to insulin resistance is hypertension. Insulin resistance causes the endothelial dysfunction and increases the sodium reduction, contributing to high blood pressure. So people with high blood pressure, people with diabetes, people with fatty liver diseases, people that are obese or overweight, all these conditions are linked to insulin resistance. Another condition that is linked to insulin resistance is Alzheimer's disease, often called type 2 diabetes in emerging research due to insulin dysregulation in the brain. How do you test for insulin resistance? You go do fasting insulin level, and the normal range is 2 to 6. Another test is HbA1c or the oral group video. Early detection matters. Many people with normal fasting blood glucose already have insulin resistance brewing underneath slowly. You know that you have insulin resistance. What can you do about it? 1. Reduce refined carbohydrates and sugar. Switch to low glycemic, index food. Switch to whole foods. Avoid, processed foods. Reduce the rate at which you eat out. Try to make homemade foods, whole foods. Instead of going for the white rice, why not go for brown rice? Why not go for basmati rice? Instead of go for the white cereals, why not go for brown cereals that have not been processed? Instead of going for bread, why not go for alternative that are rich in fiber and that are rich in nutrients and fiber? So reducing refined carbohydrates and sugar will go a long way in preventing insulin resistance. Another way you can stop or prevent insulin resistance is by eating in a timed window, that is intermittent fasting. This helps to lower insulin levels and improve sensitivity. So, having spoken about the signs and symptoms of insulin resistance, if you know that you have insulin resistance or you are tending towards insulin resistance, or you have these conditions that are linked to insulin resistance, I will advise that you do intermittent fasting. What is intermittent fasting? Intermittent fasting is just practically means fasting, having a timed eating window. You fast for about 12 to 14 hours. You have a time space of about 12 to 14 hours where you do not eat. For instance, in a 24-hour period, you take your breakfast at 12 a.m. for instance, you have your lunch around 5 p.m. and then you have dinner around 7, or you eat between 12 noon to 6 p.m. That is 6 hours, and then fast for the next 14 or 16 hours. That period of fasting is called intermittent fasting. In my next video, I'm going to dwell more on intermittent fasting. Another way you can prevent or stop insulin resistance is by moving more, staying active. Strength training and aerobic exercises like walking affect meals and can significantly lower your insulin. Whether or not you have diabetes, whether or not you have any of these conditions linked to insulin resistance, it is very advisable that you live an active life. Try to get about 150 minutes of moderate intensity activity or exercises a week. This amounts to about 30 minutes of exercises daily, like walking, cycling, skipping. If you have a skipping rope, you skip at home, or you cycle. Dancing can also be considered a moderate activity exercise. So 30 minutes per day of this moderate intensity exercises, according to the World Health Organization, will go a long way in helping you. And I just want to let you know that even 10 minutes of moderate activity, even 10 minutes of movement is better than nothing. So if you are not able to put in 30 minutes of moderate intensity activities, for 5 days a week, you can just opt for 10 minutes. it cannot harm you. Just walk around your environment for 10 minutes, or you cycle, or you dance, or you go to the gym and give 10 minutes in the gym. This will go a long way in combating insulin resistance. Another way is sleeping well. Adequate sleep. Poor sleep increases insulin resistance and increases cortisol, which is the stress hormone. We all know that sleep is for our brain. When you sleep, you rest the brain, you rest your body, you rejuvenate the brain, and you get fresh when you wake up. So it's advisable you have at least 7 to 9 hours of sleep daily as an adult. The last way you can combat insulin resistance is by managing stress. Chronic stress raises cortisol, which directly worsens insulin resistance. You know the type of job you do. If you know that you are stressed up, or you always feel stressed up, try as much as possible to reduce stress. How do you reduce stress? By sleeping more. Make sure you sleep at night. If you can sleep during the day, go ahead. Make sure you engage in relaxation activities, yoga, meditation, swimming. There are so many stress reducing activities you can, partake in that will help you to reduce stress and combat insulin resistance. Magnesium, alpha lipoic acid, berberine, and cinnamon will go a long way in combating insulin resistance. In African context, urbanization, sedentary lifestyle, and processed food have increased the burden of insulin resistance across African cities. So the Lancet Diabetes and Endocrinology Journal highlights that the rise in type 2 diabetes in sub-Saharan Africa is largely due to undiagnosed and untreated insulin resistance. This goes to say that the foundation, or the basic reason for many of these problems of health conditions I've mentioned earlier on, is actually insulin resistance. Insulin resistance is silent but dangerous. The good news is that it's reversible with the right lifestyle changes. You don't have to wait for diabetes diagnosis before you act on insulin resistance. Let's prioritize awareness, especially in communities where diagnosis is often coming too late. Let's try to, prioritize awareness. How can you do this? By sharing this video. Thank you for watching.